You okay?
I literally haven't changed my outfit in like 2 days.
I'm sick of it!
I just can't get it together today. Not okay. All of us have problems.
Hey, welcome back to It's Okay, Happy Friday. Oh my gosh, TGIF. This week has already been very annoying for me. Monday and Tuesday especially. I don't know what it is about the first of the month. Everyone is just like in a frenzy, especially when it comes to work, customer service. Everyone is so annoying. Everybody's trying to renew their narcotics. And they're crazy, so that's just neither here nor there. I'm gonna edit that out because let me calm down. Let me calm down. How are you doing? Like, what's going on? What do you have planned for the weekend in March? Like, what's going on in March? Happy birthday to all my Marchies. No one calls anyone Marchies. I just made that up. I don't know the sign for people who were born in March. I stopped following that a long time ago. Like I used to always say as well, I really only pay attention to my sign, meaning like I know that I'm a Sagittarius. Shout out to you guys. Yes, I love a Sagittarius. Me. But no, I am just elated right now. I'm currently in my office recording. I haven't recorded in my office since I recorded the podcast videos that you may or may not have seen. If you haven't, definitely go follow It's Okay, the podcast's TikTok. Definitely be doing that. You'll see some videos and quirky things from me. Long form videos and short form videos, because you can post I think like up to 15 minutes of worth of video singly on TikTok. So I've been doing that. It's a little old, but yeah, that's the last time I recorded in my office, because the chair, you can see in one of my videos, I was complaining about the chair I actually had. My dad brought me a new chair and I am so loving it. It's comfortable. It leans back. He was like, "Did you notice it leans back?" I was like, "Yes, it's leaning back." I feel like an intellectual. You know how the intellectuals like lean back and cross their leg and they like put their hand on their chin? I'm doing that right now. But it's comfortable. I'm loving it. The office vibes are still really cute. If you want an office tour to see on my TikTok, definitely let me know. I can show you that because my office is super, super cute. I mentioned in previous episodes and on actual like video how my background behind me wasn't all the way together, but we're getting it together and it's very much coming together. I love the corner shelf that I have and like the bulletin board. I have other shelves and like pictures to put behind me. I just haven't done it yet. I'm such a procrastinator when it comes to home things, but I do everything else just about. I'm like, ugh. But yes, so we're in March now, and it's been 2 weeks now that the American government has been partially shut down. So not fully shut down like it was previously, which I'm starting to think that was a partial shutdown too, but they didn't specify it that way, but they're specifying it this way this time. But yeah, it's going on 2 weeks now. They convened, I want to say 5 days ago, and they still decided, no, we're going to keep the government shut down, which is very hilarious. And it's just all so surreal in a sense here in America. It's like our government is shut down. We're in a war with Iran. This is a wild time to live in. I'm just like, we're literally I just feel like we're in history, sort of, so to speak. You know how you hear about World War I and like World War II, and it's like that's so removed from us. Those wars were actually fought on our land in America. We don't even know what that would feel like. We're going to get into that later though. But yeah, like you hear about that and it's like, oh wow. So we're in 2026. Like, imagine when we're in 2026, when we're in 2040, there's literally going to be like history lessons on this time period. COVID, Iran war. They actually call it Epic Fury is the name of it. Not necessarily the war, but the what do they call it? The executions that they embarked on. Trying to sound militarial. Anyway, yeah, the government is still shut down. We're in a war with Iran. So the partial shutdown, though, does, however, affect TSA. TSA is always hit. Why can't they respect TSA? TSA is making sure that we fly domestically and abroad safely. Like, why won't y'all pay these people when the government, like, why is y'all doing this to these folks? So yeah, I think they partially got paid last week or like last month. I don't know if they get paid bi-weekly, weekly, or monthly. I think it's weekly. I'm not even sure, but previously or last week, I think they partially got paid. I think this coming up time, they won't be paid at all, but it affects TSA. It affects the Coast Guard. And the real reason why it's shut down this time is because of immigration, ICE, Border Patrol, Customs, all of that. Homeland Security. So it's for funding of Homeland Security. They have not agreed on the amount that Congress needs to fund for Homeland Security, which I think is so insane. It makes absolutely no sense. It's all just a political game to these people. Like I've said in previous episodes, it's Congress who should be burned to the ground. You do have some good congressmen and women, but largely, I would say 97% of it is rotten to the core, needs to be eradicated and done anew. Because these are the people who are ruining our lives, but they make it seem like it's the president or it's the police or it's ICE. No, Congress, it's you. You're the problem. Look yourself at it. That's the first step. Admitting you are the problem. I don't think we'll ever get there. They'll never admit that they're the problem. But the fact that they're not funding Homeland Security, I mean, listen to the name, Homeland Security, security of the homeland, is very, very wild to me because we just recently, unfortunately, had a terrorist attack in Texas. I know you guys have been hearing about this, the government shutdown, the terrorist attack in Texas. That was just very, very wild to me. We actually have had quite a bit of terrorist attacks in America of 2025. I want to say there was like 5 or 6 already. And there was one at the top of the year, January 1st, 2025, when the guy drove his car through a bunch of people in Louisiana, and I think he ended up in a shootout with police. I could be wrong on those facts, but yeah, that happened. He had I think he had ISIS flags on like the back of his truck and was absolutely crazy, but he was an American citizen. Same thing with this guy here in Texas. He was not an American citizen per se. He was a naturalized citizen. So he came from Senegal. I don't know much about Senegal. I'm like, oh, Senegal, y'all have terrorists like that. Senegal is in Africa. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And he professed his allegiance to Allah, meaning he had like a property of Allah on his hoodie, and there was reports about how underneath his hoodie he had another shirt that was like Iranian or like had some allegiance to Allah in some sense. I didn't see any pictures of that, but I did see the Allah pictures. I said, look at this big black man in here shooting all these folks up. This is crazy. But I mean, he wasn't a black American. He was from Senegal, a naturalized citizen. But you have these occurrences happening and the government isn't funding Homeland Security, which, to be honest, I don't know if the funding for that would have prevented this from happening. You know what I mean? Like, these terrorists and these sleeper cells who come into the country, sleeper cells are, you know, those people who are planning terrorist attacks, but they're planned months out, years out in advance. They will literally be bus drivers and teachers and regular civilians in society. And when they get that call, that text message, that email, shoot them up, blow them up, they are on go mode. So, I mean, would that being funded, Homeland Security being funded, have stopped this? I honestly couldn't say. But it's still very, very wild. And I am not so scared of terrorist attacks, meaning like I think that it could happen, but at the same time, anything is possible. You always need to have your head on a swivel. I'm more scared of like a crackhead stabbing me than I am a terrorist blowing me up. But at the same time, though, because of our news cycle, it is kind of scary because, I mean, I used to live in Mississippi. I don't think people attack Mississippi that often, if not at all. It's mainly Mississippians attacking Mississippians. That's probably your highest rate of being attacked, not by a terrorist, in Mississippi. But now that I live in a major city, bigger city, I should say, a tourist city as well. I live in like a tourist state pretty much. The chances of that happening are greater, and it does kind of frighten me. And I take public transportation as well. So I'm like, the chances of somebody with a bomb on a bus, it increased expeditiously. So all of that going on, included with the war in Iran, right? So they're trying to also figure out if him doing the terrorist attack was because of us in Iran bombing it down. So I am not too familiar with Iran. Because of all the stuff that has happened recently with Israel, you have the October 7th attacks that happened in 2022, I want to say it happened either 2022 or 2023. I do apologize for not knowing the exact date of that atrocity, but I know it was October 7th for sure, but just can't remember the exact year. I want to say it was 2022 though. But I kind of started like looking more into the Middle East, period, because I was born after they started the war in Iraq. And I want to say the war in Iraq had been going on for 20 years and it ended in 2022, or excuse me, it ended in 2020. And it's like, I was on this earth moving about, living life, going to school, graduating school, and America was in a war in the Middle East the entire time. And I guess apparently Donald Trump was going to get us out, but of course he lost the presidency, or they say he lost the presidency in 2020. So then Joe Biden got us out. And I think that atrocity where the 13 soldiers were killed, that naming is called Abbey, I want to say. I don't know if the facility was called Abbey or like whatever, but they were getting us out of that war, ending it pretty much. And I really don't even understand that war. Everyone doesn't understand that war. We all know it to be a lie now. They were saying there was weapons of mass destruction, and because of 9/11 we had to go there, but that wasn't even really like what was going on, and like all of this stuff. And so everyone's scared that like this is what's happening again with Iran. And it kind of feels that way because I had been hearing about Iran being, oh, they're months away, 2 years away, they're this amount away from developing a nuclear weapon. They had been saying that way before I actually heard it, right? Hillary Clinton, whenever she was Secretary of State, was saying it. presidents previously to Trump and Obama were saying it, if I'm not mistaken. So we've always been hearing that Iran is going to get a nuclear weapon, but they've never been able to obtain a nuclear weapon. And I'm just like, to a certain degree, I'm like, okay, if they do, what's really going to happen? And then I'm also kind of like, okay, all of these people do not want this country to get a nuclear weapon. Therefore, I'm like, maybe they shouldn't get one. That's for sure. But regardless, I say all that to say, like, yes, we've been living our everyday lives. I'm more scared of being stabbed by a crackhead than like being bombed by a terrorist. And also I say that too when it comes to Iran. I don't live there. I don't live underneath that government. I do not, probably will not ever travel to that country. I'm just being realistic, not because I don't want to. I mean, I'm a below middle class Black American. My race has nothing to do with it. I'm just saying I'm Black. I'm a Black American. But anyway, so the chances of me traveling out of the country, period, is kind of slim to none. I have to be realistic about it. It's a dream one day, but will I ever get to that point? I do not know. But Iran definitely would not be on my bucket list. So it's like, if I ever do eventually finally travel out of the country, would it be to Iran? No. So regardless of that, I still am not too scared that like Iran is going to shoot a missile over to America. So they've been kind of trying to make us feel like that's the case. They've been trying to make us feel like that's the case for, I don't know, 50 years now. When you go back and kind of look at the history of it, I've been hearing about them getting a nuclear weapon and potentially bombing us for the past, 2 years now, since I've been trying to be politically inclined and pay attention to the news in the state that I live in and what's going on around me so that I can be aware of these things. But yeah, the chances of them sending a nuke over here and bombing us does not scare me all that much. Sometimes it does though when I watch the news, and especially when I like hear like a loud plane go by or like the sound of like a loud helicopter, because it's like so close. It kind of makes me think twice a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? But it's like just a plane or like just a helicopter. It's a helicopter. It's a plane. No, it's Superman. No, it's Iran. No, so I don't know how to feel about it, right? So it's not even Iran that America is beefing with. It's their government, right? So the more I do a little bit more research about Iran, it's the Ayatollah. This is my first time ever hearing that phrase, the Ayatollah. That I think is Iranian, and that's like the language, and that word Ayatollah is Iranian, and in America's terms it's this, if I'm not mistaken. That's what Ayatollah means. Meaning like, okay, they wanted to get rid of the Ayatollah, their government, their supreme leader. Like, we have a president, they have a president, but they have a president, but they have someone who is above the president. We don't have that here in America, thank God, even though they try to make it seem like Trump is that or whatever. Absolutely not. The way they be talking about this man who they did kill, unfortunately, fortunately, I mean, I don't know. So like I said, I've never been to Iran. I can only go off of the news and like what I see on social media and like what other people say, and like the happiness that has been displayed throughout the states and throughout Iran. It sounds like they're very happy that this person is dead, the Ayatollah. So the president of Iran, I do not know how to pronounce his name, is the president. Yes, was and still is the president. I don't believe that he has been killed, but the Ayatollah was the supreme leader. It sounds like this man was very, very vicious, very much a killer, very much a hater of Israel, of Jews, and of America. He would chant death to America. He would have other people chant death to America, and would orchestrate all types of evil atrocities against Israel and against Americans. I've been told by the news and by others on social media that this person, over the span of however many years we've been in this conflict with the Middle East, that he's killed over 10,000 Americans in his lifetime, which is sickening. But I can only go off of what they're saying. But this person, Khomeini, and everyone pronounces his name different. Like, I hear Iranians say it and they like don't say the K. They like say Khomeini, and they like do that, you know, in the Middle East, they're like with their words. So Khomeini, and then you have some people who say Khomeini, however you pronounce it. This individual man has been killed and was the Ayatollah, which in their language, but in English is it's a high-ranking title and is a sign of God. So this person means that they are a sign that God is in existence and that they are pretty much second to God. That's how this man is seen. And America killed him. That is going to invoke some crazy stuff. So we've already been told now that more, and I knew about this last year actually, not that we were going to go to war with Iran, but that terrorist attacks were going to happen on American soil. It was inevitable, not only because of just the border being wide open and hundreds of millions of people, not hundreds of millions, but whatever the estimate they gave us, 10 million, 20 million, whatever, being just let in. They didn't vet them properly. They just let everybody in. They were just like, go, 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 whatever. There was going to be possibilities of terrorist attacks because of that. So now we're hearing there are going to be possibility of terrorist attacks because of our war in Iran. We got a 2 for double terrorist situation. Very, very scary. Somewhat. But when it comes to the war in Iran, right, I'm not the arbiter of life and death. I don't think that you should be just willfully killing people because you think this or because you think that. It should, of course, be self-defense only. But here we are. So America went in. It was a Saturday. I'm literally chilling. I wake up. I hear all of this crazy. So at 8:15 a.m. Iranian time exactly, bombs are dropping off. Bombs are dropping off at military bases, at these people's homes, the leaders' homes, Khomeini's home. Like, he's dead now. They did kill him, which I'm very, very shocked about. Trump was kind of gangster. He was like, he was coming for me, so I got him first. I said, I have never heard a president say something like that. Never really heard a president say too much of anything until Donald Trump, honestly. But we have that. They go in, they drop all the bombs. It's been 3, 4, 5 days of bombing now. They have completely taken out Iran's naval base system. They only had 11 naval ships. They knocked out 9 on March 1st and knocked out the rest March 2nd, so they say. I'm like, oh, okay, they really went in to kill. And then when it comes to the Ayatollah, so the Ayatollah is a high-ranking title, as I said, and a sign of God. this can be appointed to someone, which I think also is very crazy. This is also a religious component. This regime, this government, this country is very, very religious and not in a Christian way. I'm not familiar with the teachings of Islam. It does sound very constricting. People think that Christianity, I guess, is constricting, and they're like, you can't force people to be a Christian country when it pertains to America. But I'm like, we might want to be. I do not want to be no Islam. No offense. No offense. I'm pretty sure there are amazing Islamic people out there. I do not want to sound Islamophobic. They always try to throw that at you. I'm like, I don't even know what half this crap is. I don't even know what I'm talking about, honestly. So it's like, okay, whatever. Boo you. But I just, it sounds very scary. Now, of course, you can take a religion and make it evil. Anyone can do that. And it sounds like maybe that's what this regime has been doing, this government, against its own people. And so they have been killing their own people. I think that they killed, so they say, meaning America. When it comes to Iran, we'll get into the back end of that in a second. When it comes to Iran, they're saying that like 30,000 protesters were killed, right? I don't know that to be a fact. This is what they're reporting. But also when it comes to Iran, you're not allowed to just go there and report. You're not allowed to just travel there and be regular. Like, you can't do that. And of course, people who are well traveled can tell you this. When you go to other countries, you have to carry yourself a certain way because their government will clink, lock you up. You can't go to China and just be out there, will-nilly. You have to have some decorum and some act right, or the government will snatch you up because they're watching you. They're watching you. And I mean, it's the same here, but we have so much freedom. We have freedom of speech. So clearly you can come over here and be a terrorist and shoot up people in Texas, and our government would never know. So I don't think that's the case when it comes to Iran, even though they do have terror. I will have to research that. Like, when's the last time Iran had a terrorist attack? Meaning like a civilian terrorist posed as like an Iranian or a Pakistani or someone of another Middle Eastern ethnicity, quotation marks, fingers, I don't know, posed as that, but like created an atrocity on Iranian soil. I don't know. But whenever you watch those YouTubers who are like, we went to Iran for a day, and they only stayed for a day, so they claim, is what the footage looks like. Because literally, like, there are like men with guns and like hijabs and skirts and flip-flops, like following them around. That's scary. I'm like, America, we think we have it? Like, what? No way. Like I said, I think I'm more scared of like a crackhead stabbing me than like experiencing what the Iranian regime was doing to their own citizens. But it's just wild to me, everything that's going on. And it's like, I'm alive for all of this. Like, and we really don't even, I mean, we know, but like, we don't know. And then it's like all the missiles that's being dropped, they're still dropping missiles. And it's like, we're literally in debt and like going to school and like going to work and like taking our kids to soccer practice and like looking at Instagram videos of all this, while quite literally there are bombs being dropped all over the place in the Middle East. There's always been bombs being dropped all over the place in the Middle East. We have not experienced that, and I pray to God we never experience that. There are oceans in between us. Thank you, Jesus. Not land masses, because in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Iran, and like Israel, like it's one big landmass. There's like no oceans separating them like that. I think the ocean, of course, is separating them from Europe, from I think they have like a sea, but it ain't no oceans, baby. So yeah, we have a whole ocean, okay, separating us from these people. And it's crazy to hear about and to think about. Like, I'm literally at work today and they're dropping bombs over there. And it's very crazy. Also, the names of these missiles. They're like the Tomahawk missile, the BGM 109. That's like the numbers of the Tomahawk. I don't even know. F-35s. And then these missiles that they're dropping on these people, it's literally like something that you create, or that a defense contractor creates, and they sell it to you. They sell this missile to you. They're selling this missile to you for $1.3 million. Now, you have homes that cost that much and more. You have bags and watches and necklaces that cost that much, but you get to keep them. You get to keep them. You can resell them. To spend $1.3 million for something to explode on people, over people, through people, on buildings is very something to me. And I'm like, America is already in trillions of debt. We're about to be in $40 trillion worth of debt. And they buy in, how many missiles have they dropped over there? A boatload. Quite literally a boatload. Took out their naval ships, all 11 of them. So you've got, like I said, Khamenei, he's dead. They have their president still, but the supreme leader is over all of these people. They've tried to appoint them. So I've been told. America keeps killing the people that they're appointing. They're literally trying to like get rid of this regime because they deem it as so evil. And it does sound like they're very evil. Killing your own people, very, very sad. Very, very scary. And then you have people who are like, our government kills us. And I'm like, I would need a little bit more proof of that. I know Obama did. Yeah. Intentionally as well. You have unintentionally and then you have intentionally. I don't know of any presidents other than Obama. Well, and Lyndon B. Johnson, and I don't know who else. I think those two for sure I know have intentionally killed Americans. But others, I don't. If anyone knows of presidents who have intentionally killed Americans, definitely let me know. Our government CIA operatives killing Americans, I wouldn't doubt that, honestly. So they have, because I was wondering, right? I was like, they killed this man. So who is over their military? Like, what's going on with their military? Why is their military like sending off missiles and things like that? And it's like, someone I was trying to gather information from kind of said like, oh, these are pre-coordinated missiles that they just need to send off, and like they're broken down. They've been like broken down into factions, random factions at that. Like no one really is in charge over there. Their government is so all over the place in such disarray after this happening. And that's kind of America's intent with Epic Fury. And the names that they call these wars are very hilarious to me. I'm like, what is an Epic Fury? I do not know. But their military is broken down into like two separate categories, whereas our military is kind of just like one military. But you know, you have the Navy, you have the Coast Guard, you have what are they? You have the National Guard, and different things like that. But they're still like one underneath one. I'm pretty sure, right? But they, however, in Iran, they have their regular army, which is an Artesh, in Iranian, I think, is how you would pronounce that. And then they have the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. I kept hearing IRGC and I'm like, what does that stand for? And it's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. I'm like, oh, okay. But that is the army that protects the revolution and protects the structure of the ideology that they hold. So it's very confusing, and like I said, it just all sounds like they did not have a good structure to their country. I'm like, how does Iran work? Like, how do you, I don't know. I'm like, when you're over there as a regular Iranian citizen, like, what does your day-to-day look like? I would have to YouTube it and see, because it's crazy to think about. But yeah, I was like, okay, so who's over their military and who's like attacking these American embassies in Qatar and in different parts of the Middle East, because they did kill 6 American military soldiers. Now, the 6 that they killed, I only have the names of 4 of them, because recently, the report that 6 came out was recently reported. Before that, it was just, 4 were killed, but now it's being said that it's 6 that were being killed by the Pentagon. But it was Captain Cody A. Cork, Cork, Chork. I think is how you pronounce that last name. And then you have Sergeant First Class Noah L. Tietjens, Jens. And then you have Sergeant First Class Nicole M. Amor, Amor, and then Sergeant Declan J. Cody. So I know of these people, and it's so crazy because like the older people, they like don't have a smile in their photo, and then like the younger people, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't know if it's Noah or if it's Declan, but the younger two and Nicole, they're smiling and they look like such just well-rounded people. I don't know them personally, but yeah, let's definitely send a prayer up for those people who quite literally died for their country. And to be a part of a military is very crazy. It's like to die for something, like to die for your kids. I'm pretty sure people can relate to that. I do not have children, so I think the only thing I would be dying for is Christ. But other than that, like to die for your military is something. So that is where America is currently at. And I want to kind of get in on this too, because I mentioned the Tomahawk missiles and the F-35s, right? Like these missiles and like drone warfare and like the missiles being dropped, nuclear war, we'll get into that on the back end. But the fact that you can literally punch in a latitude and longitude coordinate into this missile and it will quite literally go right to that and bomb it is very, very scary. Someone could punch in, get my address, punch in the latitude and longitude of my address and send a missile straight to me. Quite that easy. Like we are living in some dangerous, crazy, freaking times, man. Freaking times. And the nuclear war, you can also do that with a nuclear missile. That is the scariest thing I have ever heard of when they talk about it. I don't ever want to know what that is about, because it literally would take pretty much just one to wipe out the face of America. And then the rest of the globe would feel the effects of that. And it's like if they drop off one in California, New York potentially would die. It's very well a fact that they would probably die. Like all of America is wiped, man. That's scary. And to have this crazy government over here trying to constantly get one, and saying and doing the things that these people are reporting, I wouldn't ever want them to get one, because they clearly hate Jews and Israel so much. Like that's their first go-to. They're nuking those. They're nuking them. But I would never, oh my gosh, it's so scary to think about. I actually urge you to look it up, look into it. Nuclear warfare, like what that would look like. That is death of the world. And yeah, it's just very scary. It's all very scary what's going on. Also with the bioterrorism, you've got bioterrorism where you can literally give people diseases. Right here where I live, I'm sure you heard of it, Las Vegas, the BioLab Airbnb. I said, I'm literally at the bus stop and I get the news notification drop down. I was like, what? What are you talking about? I watched a bit of the press conference that day. I was like, what is happening right now? Couple of days, things come out. I'm just so wrapped up in like trying to get everything together for my travels. I'm not really even thinking about a podcast episode. I've only probably would have talked about it on the podcast. And I did discuss it with a couple of other people, but I just was like, this is crazy. So they found vials, unknown liquids, thousands of samples of stuff. And the stuff that they found, they didn't know what it was at first, but they're like, you can't do this inside of a home, let alone an Airbnb that you're renting out to people. What the heck is happening? But they found pathogens of the dengue virus. Dengue fever. I'd never heard of dengue fever. Never heard of that in my life. Found that. I heard about it today, but never heard of that a day in my life. And HIV and malaria, over 1,000 samples of that. Why would you have that in an Airbnb that you're renting out to people? That is crazy to me. Bioterrorism is definitely a thing. I'm sure we learned about it in school. You remember you had like that anthrax scare where they were putting anthrax on like the envelopes and people was licking it and getting sick. Then you had the guy who did something to the Tylenol bottles back in whatever year that was. That was like in the 90s, the 1990s, 1980s, I think it was 1980s. Did that to the Tylenol bottles. Like, that's scary. And to think that other countries are literally trying to do that to us is wild. There was one that I found out about. This was either 2024 or 2025 when I found out about it. I don't even know what year it happened, but there was like a Chinese student who was practicing at Harvard who was going back and forth to China. They find out that she is trying to poison America's beef cattle, our meat. I said, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more investigation about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I heard and saw. I could be, no, that's what I saw. I said, it's just so crazy. But yes, at the Airbnb, they're renting it out to people. A woman who comes and cleans it. She comes to clean it. The garage is normally always locked. She's never able to get in. She never cleans that. This time it was unlocked. She goes in and sees all of this crazy stuff. They also find over 1,000 mice just chilling in the home. Obviously, they're using the mice to test this stuff on, whatever they're trying to test. But yeah, she gets sick from this. Fevers, body aches, high temperatures, all of this crazy stuff. Then it correlates with the people who had been staying in the Airbnb, like, oh my gosh, we got deathly ill, so sick, they did not know why. They couldn't get in the garage, but lo and behold, once the cleaner found all of this stuff and got sick, 2 and 2 was put together. People who rented the Airbnb was like, I was staying in an illegal biolab. You gotta be crapping me. So this is all going on in Las Vegas. They find 2 years ago a very similar experience in California, and they're trying to see if these two are linked, because both were labeled under the same LLC. Now, in the California incident, a Chinese man was arrested. I don't know his name or what ended up happening with his case, because I'm just now finding out that this happened in California. I only know about what happened in Las Vegas. I said, they is trying to kill us. Everybody is trying to kill us. Why does everyone want us to die? I don't understand. So this man who is renting this Airbnb to people, the property manager, is arrested. Guess what he is? He looks Chinese. However, he does have like blonde hair, and his blonde hair definitely looks like it's like damaged from being bleached, because obviously it's bleached, but he looks Chinese, Filipino. I'm just saying. We all know about the Chinese and how much they are trying to become the global power, and be number one. America's number one, and like China, Russia are like neck and neck number 2, and you got everybody else. China wants to be number 1. I don't think anyone in America ever wants to see what that would be like, even though we're taught to like, oh my gosh, America's so bad, so racist, so this, so that. I don't think we ever want to know what it would be like to live in Iran, or to not be the number 1 country or anything like that. Because all this stuff that I am just simply learning about and reading about, government shutdowns, Iran wars, the Ayatollah, the freaking biolabs that you can create, is very scary. It's like, how do you even obtain vials of HIV and malaria? Like, what the heck is going on in this world, in this country? I don't even understand. I was going to talk about the BAFTAs, but after discussing all this, you guys, I literally can't even get into that right now. I'm sick.
All of us have problems.